My name is Paul. I'm 17 now, a junior. My girlfriend and I guess you could say we have a sex life, but we don't sleep together. I mean, we've never had intercourse. We're waiting to decide about making love. We want to be sure we're ready for it. Kate, my girlfriend, is still a virgin. I had some experience before I met her. Some kid stuff with girls I hardly knew. Then one sort of big deal romance, but it wasn't a good experience for me. So I know what can happen if you get into heavy sex before you're ready. That's why Kate and I are waiting. I'm not sure what we're waiting for exactly. It's not something real definable. All I know is what we have is something special. We don't want to mess that up. We're doing what's right for us, and that's what counts.
Kids have to be pretty strong in what they believe to stand up under the pressure. You know, when we've asked, do you feel under pressure to have sex because your friends are having sex or because you're not with it if you're a virgin, they say no, no pressure. But I tend to think there is pressure, and their actions reflect it.
A guy can have an especially hard time with pressure about sex. It's kind of a status thing. But studies show that only about half of high school kids are having sex, and those figures seem about right to me. So in his decision to abstain from sex, Paul is far from alone.
Sometimes I can't believe how rough the pressure to have sex can get. I think everyone spends so much time worrying about whether they're doing exactly the same thing everybody else is doing that they forget to pay attention to what they really want or need. I'll give you a perfect example. Me last year, when I was going with Anita. I hadn't been seeing anybody special that year. Dating a little. Seeing some girls who were friends, but not girlfriends. I had never had a real long-time thing with a girl. I'd listened to some of my friends who had steady girls. Sounded so good. All the advantages of being married, and none of the problems. I daydreamed about that a lot. I guess I've always been very serious about school, or at least since I decided I wanted to be a marine biologist. But that year, I felt my life was getting to be all work and no play, so I decided to date more. When Anita came along, I guess I was ready. She was just so cute and feminine and fun to be with. We started seeing each other almost every night, right from the beginning. The other guys all thought she was great, but nobody knew if she was a virgin or not. There was a lot of talk about that. And it was exciting that it looked like I was the one who was gonna find out. Well, I did, and she wasn't. I didn't talk about it, but somehow everybody seems to know when a couple is having sex. Anita and I just breezed along for a while, having fun, having sex. I thought not taking it too seriously. But by then, finals came along. The work was piling up and I was behind. If I wasn't going to blow my whole average, I had a stack of work to do. Suddenly becoming a marine biologist seemed very real again, and very important. I guess I realized that Anita was taking up too much of my time. I kind of pulled back, started going straight home after school instead of seeing her. But she started just dropping over. I got to where I dreaded hearing the doorbell ring. I told her we'd have to quit seeing each other on school nights. But all that did was make her mad. She made it very clear that she wasn't going to take second place to a pile of homework. I felt bad that she was hurt, but by now I knew that the relationship with Anita was more than I could handle, and more than I wanted to. She cried and threatened, and I don't know what. I felt awful, trapped, and mad, like I owed her something. And then the zinger. She told me her period was late. She thought she was pregnant. At first, I didn't believe her, but she was so scared, almost out of her mind, that I knew it was true. Now, I waited for the phone to ring, to have Anita call and tell me everything was okay. I couldn't concentrate enough to do my homework. I kept thinking, suppose she really was pregnant. Suppose she had a baby. What would I do? Walk out on her? Go to college and leave her behind? Wouldn't I have to support her? And what would my parents say? It was 3 weeks before Anita found out she wasn't pregnant. When it was finally over, I knew we were through. I tried to be nice about it, but there was no way. Anita cried and screamed at me. I felt almost sick with guilt, because I knew I hadn't really been in love with her. For me, it was just for fun. When it was over, I felt very guilty, but relieved too. My future had never seemed so important to me. After all, I'd pictured myself almost losing it.
There seems to be some popular idea that the only thing teenagers think about is sex. And sex is very important at this age, but there are other, at least equally important concerns. There was an interesting study done a little while back. It asked teenagers to rate what was most important to them, and there were 6 items: having friends of your own sex, having friends of the opposite sex, athletics, having sex with someone, doing well in school, being romantically involved with someone. What we find is that once teenagers have a sense of a goal, a future, they're willing to make sacrifices to achieve it. Doing well in school was at the top of the list for both boys and girls. Having friends of your own sex and of the opposite sex also ranked high for both. And having sex? Well, for girls, that came in last. And it came in next to last for boys.
For 3 months after Anita and I broke up, I didn't even date. But now there's Kate. It's completely different. She has goals too. She's studying music and hopes to be a music teacher someday. She knows about Anita, of course. The whole school does. But I think Kate understands what happened and why I broke up with Anita. And she knows I understand her feelings and respect her for them. I think it's just common sense. I care about Kate, and I don't want to risk anything coming between us. I don't want to worry about pregnancy or getting caught by our parents. And I don't want Kate to think I only want her for sex. I don't want us to get so complicated that we can't think about anything else. What we have is so good. Kate's mother says that she's never heard 2 people talk so much. There's truth to that. We know a lot about each other, and we're learning more all the time. Having someone you can tell anything to, well, it's great. Knowing Kate has made me see that sex alone isn't what holds people together. Things like honesty and trust and being good friends. Those are the most important things. At least we think so. The way it is now, we're both pretty frustrated at times. But there's nobody I'd rather be with than Kate.
Kids like Paul and Kate are really communicating with each other, asking good questions. Like, what are your values in this? What are your ethics, your morals? What do our parents believe in? What about religion? And then, what makes sense to us? What's in our best interest?
One thing that makes me mad is that most of the pressure to have sex comes from my friends, or my so-called friends. They're all hung up on what being a real man is, and who is and who isn't. You should hear them. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. Sex is good for your health. And oh yeah, it's what she really wants. She just doesn't want to admit it. A lot of them see sex for its own sake as perfectly okay. And if that's what they want, it's okay with me. But to me, it seems like sex without love is kind of pointless. So I guess Kate and I will do what's best for us. I'm not saying we'll never have sex. What I am saying is that the relationship we have right now is what we want. What we'll want next week, next month, maybe next year, who knows? We'll see.